Close your eyes for a moment and picture a world hidden beneath endless green, a world where stone giants sleep under vines and secrets whisper from the shadows. This was the realm of the ancient Maya, masters of time itself. Their calendars stretched far beyond our own understanding, as if they could read the heartbeat of the universe. They built vast cities in jungles so thick that even sunlight had to fight its way through. For 2,000 years, they ruled with brilliance and precision. And then, in the 9th century, they began the greatest disappearing act in human history, slipping away without a single clear trace. What happened to them remains one of the most haunting mysteries ever uncovered. These weren't ordinary rulers. They were astronomer kings, visionaries like Kuk-Mo, whose very name carried the weight of the sun and the Quetzal. They mapped the heavens with stone instruments and charted the journey of Venus across the sky as if it were an old friend. Their classic period, 250 to 900 CE, was a golden river of power, art, and knowledge flowing without interruption. Their temples rose above the canopy, glowing like beacons in the night. Their society seemed unstoppable, invincible, eternal. And yet, this brilliance masked a quiet, growing tension beneath the surface. But in the midst of their triumphs, tiny fractures began to spread, so small at first that no one living would have noticed. Scribes who once carved their victories into stone slowed their hands, then stopped altogether. Celebration grounds that once throbbed with drums and laughter grew still, as if the jungle were slowly reclaiming the rhythm. It wasn't one event or one disaster, but a shift, a subtle unraveling. A great civilization, so complex and intertwined, began to fray, thread by thread, almost too slow to see until it was too late. The Maya collapse wasn't a sudden explosion. It was a long shadow stretching across generations. No invaders swept in. No foreign army crushed their kingdoms. There were no mass graves, no signs of one overwhelming catastrophe. Instead, the truth is stranger and far more tragic. The forces that weakened their world came from within. It was like watching a great flame flicker, dim and shrink, not because someone snuffed it out, but because the fuel slowly disappeared, silent, unnoticed, and irreversible. To the Maya, water wasn't just survival, it was destiny. Their cities lived and died by the rain. Their engineers crafted reservoirs and canals so precise they seemed almost magical. But starting around 800 CE, nature shifted. Droughts arrived, not as brief misfortunes, but as long, relentless seasons of thirst. Year after year, the skies stayed empty. The records written in stalagmites and lake beds reveal a grim truth. The rains that fed their world began to fade. The very heart of their civilization was drying up. Imagine standing in a great city of 100,000 people and watching the main reservoir sink lower each day. First to a puddle, then to mud cracked like broken pottery. Crops withered. Wells turned bitter. The drought didn't take lives overnight, but it took something even more crucial: faith. Faith in leaders who promised to speak with gods. Faith in rituals that once brought the rains. When belief breaks, the foundations of society shake. And the Maya felt that tremor echo through every hut, every palace, every field. As the pressure grew, something ancient stirred beneath the surface of their once unified world. Conflict. Kingdom turned against kingdom. Rulers who failed to summon the rains saw their thrones threatened, their people desperate. Stone carvings show scenes of rising brutality, captives kneeling, rival kings binding each other in chains. It wasn't just fighting for power, it was fighting for survival. When water vanished, peace vanished with it. The fear became real at places like Dos Pilas. Imagine the panic. Villagers, priests, even nobles ripping stones from their own sacred temples to stack them into hurried defensive walls. The carvings of gods and heroes were torn away to create barricades against neighbors they once traded with. When people destroy their own sanctuaries to protect themselves, it tells a chilling story. Fear had grown stronger than devotion, stronger than tradition, stronger than the very culture they once cherished. And the tragedy ran deeper still. The Maya themselves unknowingly fed the collapse. To create the gleaming white plaster of their temples, they had to burn enormous quantities of wood, whole forests reduced to ash. As trees fell, the land lost its protection. Soil washed away in the rains that were left. Heat intensified. Farming became harder. The more they built, the more fragile their world became, until the environment buckled under the weight of their own brilliance. No single force undid the Maya. It was a perfect storm, a delicate web unraveling from all sides. Drought drained their lifeline. War fractured their unity. Deforestation weakened their land. Leadership faltered under impossible pressure. Little by little, their world became too heavy for the system holding it together. It wasn't an apocalypse. It was the slow, painful unbraiding of a civilization stretched to its limit. And here's the moment most people misunderstand. The Maya didn't disappear. They didn't fade into dust. They moved. As the southern cities faltered, people gathered their families, their traditions, their sacred knowledge, and walked north and west, traveling toward places where water still flowed. Cities that once held tens of thousands emptied gently, like rivers changing course. Their story didn't end, it changed direction. For a long time, archaeologists believed these migrants created the great northern cities, like Chichen Itza. It made sense. People fleeing hardship, building a fresh start. But new discoveries are rewriting that idea entirely. New evidence shows that powerful Maya kingdoms already thrived in the north, long before the southern world collapsed. And suddenly, the story becomes far richer than we ever imagined. Picture this discovery. Deep in the Yucatan, beneath layers of earth and time, archaeologists uncovered a royal palace at Kik, dating all the way back to 500 AD. A palace hidden for centuries. And what makes it astonishing is its timing. It existed long before the southern collapse began. It suggests the north wasn't a refuge the Maya created later. It was already a thriving political center, while the south still shone at its peak. This palace wasn't a simple structure. It had a throne room, an unmistakable sign of royal authority. And here's the remarkable part. Later generations deliberately buried the palace under new construction, not to destroy it, but to preserve it, and to connect their new rulers with the ancestral power of those who came before. It was a way of saying, we stand on the shoulders of ancient kings. Power wasn't born in the north during the collapse. It was already rooted deep. And deeper still, inside sacred caves, where light barely touches the stone, archaeologists found paintings dating back to 100 BC. These are some of the oldest Maya artworks ever discovered in Mexico. Quiet, delicate images painted by hands that lived 1,000 years before the classic Maya Golden Age. They reveal that northern Maya culture had ancient rituals, symbols, and traditions that blossomed long before the southern cities rose. Piece by piece, the evidence builds. Not just a palace, not just paintings. More than 190 ancient towns have now been mapped across the northern Yucatan. When you imagine them all together, these towns, courtyards, road systems, it becomes clear that this wasn't a frontier. It was a vast, interconnected mega-society, a civilization every bit as sophisticated and powerful as the South. So the collapse wasn't the extinguishing of Maya greatness, it was a shifting of the flame. As the southern kingdom struggled, the north continued to glow steadily. Already strong, already organized, already home to dynasties that could absorb newcomers. The south didn't fall into nothingness, it flowed into a northern world ready to receive it. All the evidence is woven together. The true story emerges like a pattern in a tapestry. A perfect storm of drought, conflict, and environmental strain weakened the South. But the northern mega-society endured, holding on to the knowledge, the art, the astronomy, the stories. The Maya civilization didn't die, it transformed, carrying its light forward into a new era. In time, the jungle took back what was left behind. Trees wrapped their roots around abandoned plazas. Vines climbed the faces of great pyramids. The last kings carved their final glyphs, faint symbols that still whisper through the centuries. Yet even as nature reclaimed the stones, the structures didn't vanish. They stand today like ancient guardians, watching the sky they once mapped with such mastery. When you imagine the Maya collapse, don't picture a sudden catastrophe. Picture a long, gentle sunset, kingdoms dimming one by one, their people drifting to new horizons. They carried their gods, their stories, their knowledge with them. The Maya didn't crumble. They changed. They adapted. Their spirit remained unbroken, reshaped by time rather than defeated by it. And even now, their legacy lives in every village, in every ritual dance, in every Maya word spoken today. That ancient pulse continues. Their past isn't a ruin, it's alive. The Maya teach us something profound. Civilizations don't truly disappear. They evolve, they transform. And sometimes the quietest survivors hold the strongest stories of all.